I want to ask Tom. So Tom, you are working. You are working right now. You have been working ever since March, to varying degrees. There have been periods where you have been kind of shut down because of you had to be. But you are doing a lot of work right now. So I want to start with you just giving us kind of an overview of how things have been going the last few months, and specifically any numbers that you are willing to share with the attendees. Because I think what they're all wondering before we get started is, why should I listen to these three clowns and no photographers out
Wait
there?
a minute. Clowns? You can call me a clown, but not Mr. Morelli.
Mr. Morelli's the clowniest of us all. He would be the first to admit it, too.
I do juggle a lot, yes.
He does juggle a lot. But amidst his clowniness, he's a heck of a photographic business person. So, Tom, how have the last few months been to whatever degree you're willing to share?
Thanks, Ted. Anyway, you need a haircut, buddy. It's in the back there.
I do. I've got my COVID cut going on.
The Michigan mullet? Anyway.
That's my Michigan mullet, my COVID cut. I have not gone to a haircut since February, and it's driving me nuts. And that's why I'm wearing a hat.
You look good. You're a model. Cut it out. I'm a Model T. Anyway, thanks for that. Sorry to waste your time. First and foremost, back in March, late March here in Maine, we were ordered to close down, and not do any business at all, with or without masks or distancing, just businesses, retail. We're kind of in that retail, hair salon, nail salon service industry here in Maine. I have a photography studio, a brick and mortar studio, a large camera room and an area we meet clients. So they weren't able to come in. So during that time, I made really sure that I didn't stop working, get into my sweatpants and watch Netflix endlessly, which it was very hard not to do that because some days I felt like, what's the point? However, the phone still rang. People were still curious. So we were still answering inquiries, letting people know as soon as things clear up a bit, which we had no idea when, we'll get back to you. So we already had kind of a list of people waiting for high school senior portraits and families and things like that. And we have a baby plan. As the restrictions were lifted and the phases, and every state and every region is different. I'm here in Maine. It might be totally different where you are. If you're not in the United States, again, check with your local officials. But the challenges have been maneuvering mask mandates and social distancing. And recently, in beginning of September, we technically kind of opened back up, but with real restricted availability. Only photographing outside or at clients' homes, which we usually do anyway, trying to stay away from enclosed areas where masks were required, because obviously your client can't wear a mask if they're going to be photographed, even if it's a nice-looking mask. So just to give you a little bit of numbers, normally our photography studio does a profit of over $100,000 a year in portrait work. Used to do weddings, but that's primarily portrait. And that's families, baby plans, seniors, and a few other mixes. Just to give you a reference point, well, that stopped. That income stream stopped for quite a few months. And luckily, I've been in business long enough, and we put away enough that we were able to survive that and make clear that we're still here. Now, part of how I did that, and the reason I'm going to give you these numbers here, is I use social media because that was the safest to still communicate to my clients. We're open, we're here, we're working, we're communicating, we're talking about things that relate to you. So we were still rapport building all summer and into the fall to let people know and keep them updated. I did Facebook Live updates as well as posts of work and what we're going to do when we open back up. So since September, and right now we've had 29 sessions from September 8th through about mid-November. Based on our sales average, we don't usually use the word sales, but between you and us, what people are investing in for portraits, and I just made a generic number here to make it, I didn't want to get too much in the weeds and numbers right now, but if you take our family portraits, which are the biggest thing I'm doing right now, that's the highest sales average, plus our baby plan, which is the lowest per visit sales average, but still very profitable over the life of the baby plan, plus high school seniors, which is very profitable. A lot of times families are rolled into that. So I'm just checking my numbers here. So the including creation fees, it's $1,280 per client that is coming in. Some a lot more, some triple that, some a third of that. But that, with those 29, that's $37,000 and change in gross sales for that time period for that amount of sessions. And we're also taking in, what's not counted in there are the creation fees of people who are booking for later in November and all through December for the holiday portraits, and even the week after. in December, week after Christmas, is really profitable too, because families get together and they don't need the portraits for Christmas. So I'm expecting that to double that 37. There should be another 37 between now and Christmas. So that'll be about 70 from September 8th, which the majority of my business is usually mid-August to Christmas. The first quarter and the first quarter and a half of the year are the slower times here in Maine because of obviously it's winter time and we do a lot less in clients. So out of the 100,000, we're going to catch back up eventually. Some we may never ever get back, but that's basically how it's working right now. So the sales average is still good. Someone had mentioned, I thought it was Anna, but somebody asked about sales. People are not investing money. Well, I'm going to get into this in another section, but there still are people who even value their families more. They've kind of turned inward. So home decor, they're fixing their places up, and wall portraits are part of that. They also are with their families a lot more and realizing the value of the little ones growing up so fast in front of their eyes. So actually the clients that want to work with us, and if your marketing is good that we're going to talk about, those people still value what we do, even though a large part of the population might be doing selfies and things. Those aren't the people we're working with anyway.
Right. Now, Matt typed a great question in, and he said, so you're averaging your sales numbers across people who don't purchase anything? So are you including any clients that didn't purchase anything if those clients exist?
Right. We don't have anybody in that category because we have a system, and we may get more into this, that qualifies them so that at the appointment where they make their selection and invest in the portraits, unless something really went wrong, we have to, retake some, but that's pretty rare, maybe once every few years if you've done the job properly. So there are no, we used to call them aces. Like sometimes people do speculation photography, and they'll, photograph on spec. And a few people ace.
Whoa!
No!
That's because
dollar in the naughty word jar.
That's because that's what they call it in those businesses. Like when they do sports teams or proms, high volume stuff, we're going to shoot some. We don't use that term, but I used it for that. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I ever heard you use that word, Tom.
Yeah, I think everyone saw our faces, Dad, go, what?
I'll drink to that.
Giving you a hard time, Tom. Giving you a hard time. But Tom's right. Those are words that he never uses. But again, that's kind of what they call them. But we never ever use those words.
So back to the question, which was a good one. So there are no zeros or aces averaged into that. Those are all averaged together sales from those three categories.
And again, Matt, that was a great question, and you're going to see why. It is no accident that it is extraordinarily rare that we or Tom ever have or has a client that does not invest in something, usually something for the wall. So that's great. And Matt said, okay, thanks for clarifying. So continue, Tom, if you had any other stuff you wanted to share.
No, that was about, like I say, that's, that's about it. We're back to the point we can use masks. So I'm meeting with my clients in person at their homes or here at the studio to do the consultations, the other things we do to make sure that everything works smoothly. It's just that most of what I'm doing right now, because of the glorious weather, is outside, either at clients' homes or I was in the Maine woods this morning by a lake doing a beautiful portrait. But once that ends, we're going to move back into the studio during the winter, post-Christmas.